Hello, I'm Paul Briley, and you're listening to Off the Comma. On this podcast, we explore all facets of what it means to feel stuck in life. We talk with people just like us who have found themselves sitting on a comma and not knowing where to go next. We'll unpack the experience, where they felt stuck, what they experienced, and what they learned. My goal is to inspire you by seeing yourself in others and finding possibility for yourself. Let's get into this week's conversation. And we are back for another exciting episode of Off the Comma, and ticking on along. We're well into our second 100 episodes now, which is pretty exciting. And we're into our now what's about to be our third year, or in our second year, on our way to year 3, I should say. But very excited and very honored, and feel very privileged to be able to be here and be able to be a part of this podcast and bring this podcast to the world, with obviously the help and the contributions of all of these amazing storytellers that join us on our podcast. And this week is going to be no exception. In fact, I'm excited to talk to Margaux Amie today. I'm going to let her introduce herself in just a moment. But she's somebody who we haven't met yet, and I'm excited to really meet Margaux and learn more about her through her story today. And I'm very excited for, through this powerful act of listening and learning, to be able to see, what Margaux's story and experience, or how Margaux's story and experience might have an impact and an influence and an inspiration on my life today. So I'm going to stop rambling. Margaux, I'm going to turn it over to you. Why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us, how would you like to be known? And then anything specific you'd like us to know about you before we get into the 5 questions and your story in a little bit.
Okay, no pressure. I would like to say hello to all of your listeners and congratulations on this is your more than 100 episodes.
Thank
It's
you.
an amazing milestone. I want to start off by saying that I am a storyteller at heart.
Mm.
Even my friends will tell you when I talk to them or when I call them on the phone, I have a long story about whatever it is, and they're like, okay, can you just tell us, get to the point?
Mm.
So I'm a storyteller at heart. I'm a woman who's been able to take pain and turn it into purpose.
Mm.
I've lived through a lot of grief, and I was able to finally find help and find ways to get over my grief. I've learned that vulnerability is strength, and it's just about giving other women, in addition to myself, those pointers by sharing with them through my storytelling what's helped me and how I can help them. And also for me personally, how this reflects through my mission and through my life's work.
Mm. Mm. Powerful descriptions. And I'm already getting a sense for how it seems. And anytime I reflect anything throughout our conversation, always feel free to correct me if I'm off base. But this sense of kind of deep meaning and sort of vulnerability, just in how you seem to show up, just in the way you describe kind of these traits and characteristics of yourself. Is there anything else that you would like people to know about you before you start telling your story? Hobbies, interests, profession, any of those kinds of things, right?
Uh, there are a couple of funny things about me. I'm very calm usually and very kind of like straightforward. I have a background in sales and marketing, which is also an inside joke with my friends. Um, so I through my training, I learned that we're technically shouldn't have high highs and low lows
Hmm.
because when you're working with other people or even your family members, they don't know how you're going to be if one day you're way up here and the next day you're way down there.
Mm.
So I try to be kind of even keeled all the way through, well, with the exception of, the grief and what I went through. But
Hmm.
on a normal day to day basis, I try to be kind of like even keeled. And that is something I always try to do, and that is something that most of my friends do know about me.
Mm.
So that's an interesting thing about me. Um, Hobbies, I would kind of say, I don't know. I don't know if I have a lot of hobbies
Okay.
because once I focus on something, I just focus on that.
Mm.
And over the last couple of years, I have, gotten through all the grief, shifted through all that stuff. And so I've started a production company, which is called True Self Films, based
Mm.
in LA. And my flagship film, Therein Lies Darkness. I've been really focused on getting these things up and running. So when I have friends who call me or family that call me, they want to know how I'm doing, what's going on. It's always about that. Something has
Mm.
to do with that. And
Mm.
some of my family and friends, I know they love me, but I know they want to talk about other things because they have told me, can we talk about something else? And I'm like, but that's what I'm doing. I'm focused on that. So I do try to be mindful of going hiking or going to the movies or, traveling somewhere, maybe just a brief 1 day trip, so I can have, other interests like tennis or something like that. So I can be more well-rounded, even though I'm on this laser focused journey to
Mm.
get done what I need to get done.
Yeah, I was going to acknowledge you for that. Like I hear focus, in everything that you're sharing, and to if I may self-reference for just a little bit, it seems like potentially we're about to learn that you're someone who has had a bit of an awakening and kind of embarked on a very focused mission in your life, and it can be challenging for folks who have found this sense of purpose and the focus and kind of the awakening when you are so driven by the thing you're focused on, it can be challenging for those around us
Yeah.
who, aren't necessarily on that same path. And it can be challenging for those of us who are to try to step out and do the other things, right? And there's no like, you tell me otherwise, but like in my experience, there's no, malice or offense intended. It's just kind of like, if I was a cat, like that's what I do, So I don't know.
Right.
Thoughts?
It's, I guess it's like, well, with life in general, I guess it's striking a balance.
Mm,
And we kind of learn that, I guess, as we go along, because our life, sometimes it's up, sometimes it's down. We have ebbs and flows. But during this time, this specific time right now, as I've been laser focused, I do realize when my family member says, okay, well, maybe you need to talk about something else or you need to do something else. I do realize that I do need that.
mm,
We
mm,
do need that because then when we go back to what we're focused on, we've kind of cleaned house a little bit. We've kind of given ourselves that permission or that energy to refocus then on what we're doing.
mm, mm,
uh, for instance, I can just go and go and go. I might spend 12-hour days working on what it is I'm working on currently, and I have nothing else. I have nothing
mm,
to give. It's like all spent. So to go another day, another 12-hour day or whatever, there I have nothing to give. So it is nice to step away and go hiking or go play tennis or talk to
mm.
my friends or watch the gossip columns or just whatever, something else to give yourself a mind shift,
Yeah. Well, and bring about some balance too, right?
some balance. Yes, absolutely.
On that note of balance and focus, before we start with the first question, one question I like to ask every guest is as you think ahead to the next, 30 or 40 minutes of your conversation, our conversation today, and telling your story, Margaux, what would be your intention for yourself today?
I would say the intention for myself is to be able to share my story because I want to be able to say something that might help, especially women dealing with the issues that I've had to deal with, or anybody who's going through some of the things that I've gone through. So it's my intention to be able to reach out and help someone so they can feel better. I
Mm,
know it helps me feel better to know people go through certain things or have done certain things. That helps me to feel better. But also for me, it's always a little bit cathartic the more I talk out loud about what it is I've been through or what it is I'm going through. And that helps me gain more strength to continue to move forward. Because one of the things I always tell my friends, and one of the mantras I always give myself, is to keep
hmm
moving forward, no matter what happens,
mm,
whether good things are going on or not so good things are going on. My mantra is to always keep moving forward.
mm. My intention is to support you in your intention today and to do exactly what you said. Create a space for you to be able to share your story, and that there will be people out there, particularly women, but maybe not just women, who will see a little bit of themselves in you and your story, will feel a little bit more connected, a little less alone, and in the best of cases, maybe feel inspired or empowered to go out and do something that they've been wanting to do.
Exactly.
Wonderful. Let's jump into the first question. You've talked about your story quite a bit. Let's give you an opportunity to open it up for us. Question one is, where in your life have you found yourself sitting on a comma?
Okay. Uh, that is a very good question. And yes, I would say my comma came after losing my husband
Mm,
because everything stopped for me at that moment. Uh, I'm originally from Las Vegas, although I consider LA my home. I've lived in LA many years. Um, but at that time, I was living in Las Vegas with my husband, and we had been together for quite some time. And our lives were kind of like pretty stable and moving along. My husband was an entrepreneur, so we were planning to do certain businesses. He was planning to help me do my businesses, and so on and so forth. So I considered it living the life of Riley at the time.
mm,
It wasn't really, really super high living lifestyle, but it wasn't where we were struggling and, every day.
mm,
So to go from that to now my husband's passed away, everything stopped. And it was
mm,
exacerbated by the fact that the year before that, my mother passed away.
mm,
The year before that, my grandmother passed away.
mm,
And although I have other family members as well, those three people were the most, uh, I don't want to say the most valuable because my other family members, they're also valuable too.
mhm,
But those were the three people who were the most involved in my life at during that time. So my structure, my support system, it was the bottom fell out.
mhm,
So I was scared, lost, stressed out, worried, and I thought, well, okay, I have to start completely over because again, my mantra is I need to keep moving. So
mm,
I really had to think about how do I go from scared, broken, lost, stuck to I need to keep moving and create something new. And I knew I didn't want to stay in that stuck place because it was uncomfortable. I at that time I lost a lot of weight, and I'm not really that big anyway. So I went down to about 106 pounds at that time.
mm,
And thankfully, I was able to find a therapist to go see, and that was the catalyst to help me start climbing out of the the stuckness and the darkness that I was in.
mm. If I may, I'd love to step in for just a moment. First of all, just want to acknowledge you and your experience. I mean, as you started the story, the loss of a husband, is monumental enough, but on the heels of 3 years of loss and these such meaningful people in your life and your mother and your grandmother, I mean, correct me if I'm taking liberties here, but these meaningful influences, these models, the women who literally are responsible for birthing you into this world, I mean, that's a lot to carry in a 3 year window of time. I just want to acknowledge you for that.
Thank you. Yeah, it was devastating. Like I said, I everything stopped. Everything.
Mm,
So it that it took me a while to even figure out what to do when I was in that space, let alone,
mm,
okay, I'm going to do this and then I'm going to move forward.
mm,
Like I said, I was originally, when those things happened to me, and I think a little bit differently sometimes about things. So I thought, well, let me just go through my phone list and my phone and just start calling everybody and telling them what happened. But then I thought, well, okay, if I do that, then nobody's going to answer the phone.
mm,
It's going to be like, boop, leave a message. So
mm,
I thought, well, okay, I can't continue to do that with my friends. So I needed to find an outlet for that. And so I was able to move through and
mm.
carry on with that. But I don't know if that's going to blend into the next question. So
Well, and that's okay. And I do want to go into these questions because they'll all help you shape your story too. But I guess I was just curious because in every episode, guests bring so many different unique and powerful stories. And I think a lot of times what happens is myself, other listeners will hear things, and as human beings, we'll say, yeah, okay, yeah, no, I know what that's like. I've been through that, or what have you. And so there's a lot of assuming, right? And there's this opportunity for us to peel back the layers of the onion just a little bit. And without the assumptions, truly understand what it was intimately like for you. And I certainly don't intend to have you go back and relive. But I am curious because you said everything stopped. You said that at least two, if not three times. What what was the most significant thing that stopped beyond my assumptions of, the losses that you've had? Like, what did everything stopped really mean for you in addition to what you've shared?
well, it was paralyzing for me
Mm,
emotionally, physically. Um, and as we carry on through life, we have to interact with family members. We have to go to work. We have to pay bills. We have to keep our career going. And I didn't have time for that.
hmm
So it's like I think it is important to when you are going through things to take time out and just be in that moment.
mm,
Early on, I did a lot of self-help course study type things. I won't name what they were, but a lot of self-help study type things. And one of the things we learned was it's okay to just be,
mm,
because you have to do that in order to get something different. So, and I'm not saying I sat in that for a long period of time, because of course I
mm,
couldn't afford to do that. I
mm,
couldn't afford to do that health wise. I couldn't afford to do that financially. I couldn't afford to do that mentally. So, but I did have to stop and just be and figure some things out.
mm. It seems also earlier, and correct me if I'm wrong, but as you were talking about and describing the dynamic of the business and kind of the future that you were creating with your husband before his passing, the word that came to mind for me was, and your possibility and your potential was kind of tied together. It seems like that was also a piece that you were potentially facing here at this point. Is it's like that storyline has ended and I have to write a new story.
Yes, it was. I've always had an entrepreneurial mindset, and or to do a business or something like this. And I started off as a model, and then I shifted into acting. And when I met my husband, he said, okay, well, who are you? What are you trying to do? How can I help you so we can be successful together, so we can move forward together? And
Hmm.
I said, well, okay, I produced fashion shows, so I want to continue doing that. Well, okay, I'm an actor, so I want to continue doing that. And maybe I want to create my own stuff, so I want to continue doing that. And as he was a businessman, he had much more experience than me, much a different mindset than me, and he came with different tools than me.
Mm.
So he said, okay, do you want to do these things as a hobby, or do you want to do these things where you make money and they are, legitimate businesses? And I said, well, of course, I want to do them and I want to make money.
Hmm. Hmm.
So he was kind of, training me and helping me to do things. So after he passed away, it was a tremendous loss, emotionally, physically, financially. It was.
Hmm.
But from my mother, she was a very strong woman. And she kind of instilled in me that you have to be strong and you have to keep going.
Hmm. Hmm.
So the things that I was learning from my husband, or the things that I had started doing business wise and financially or whatever, I decided to, okay, well, these things are in here. I've learned these, I've internalized these. Okay, let me build on that and continue to move forward, which is
Hmm.
where I am today with True Self Films, based in LA, and Therein Lies Darkness, which is our flagship film.
Hmm. Let me acknowledge something, and then I'm going to jump into the second question, which will be an opportunity for you to kind of expand or continue the story if you like. There was something that you said that kind of stood out for me, and it seems like because you described yourself as kind of being multi-passionate and multipreneurial, modeling and acting, and it sounds like there were potentially lots of other ideas and pursuits and interests in there. It strikes me that potentially that was a thing that also helped you bridge into having to start over as well, because you were already used to having multiple pursuits, multiple pathways, multiple interests. You tell me if that's an accurate statement or not.
Um, yes, I would say it is. Um, I've always been, they say, there are people that there's two sides of the brain, and some people are more science and math, and then some people are more artistic
Hmm.
and creative. And I have always, always been more artistic and creative, even when I was a child.
Hmm.
When I was a child, I was playing with dolls and fashion plates, and my mother could sew, and she was a fashion girly herself. So those things were kind of like a given. And even my
Hmm.
dad was a fashion guy. So those
Hmm.
things were kind of like a given when I was young. And then when I was older, when I was going through college and even through, early school, middle school, and all that, I was a musician and a singer. So I played upright bass, classical music when I was young and through college, and I also sang. So I've always been, somewhere in the artistic. It's also kind of a funny thing now, I realize. First of all, people say, therapists or early development, they say whatever you do when you're a child is what you should do when you grow up.
Hmm.
And the funny thing is, parents, they want to make sure you get the best career, you make the most money or whatever. So they try to set you up for that. So all the time when I was going to school, I would want to be in the choir and I'd want to be a musician. And my mother would put me in all of these business classes, typing, shorthand, computers, all these things. And people don't even do shorthand now. People don't even know what that
Hmm.
is. So not that I want to age myself, but I'm just
I
saying.
think it's called emojis.
Right? Emojis now is shorthand. Right. That's true. Um, so, but with all of that, my parents, my mother tried to put me in. I ended up getting scholarships to play upright bass because that's what I played. And I ended up singing in the choir. That was a big thing. And then when I got older, I was modeling and then acting and then voiceovers. So so I've always been kind of creative and wanting to do those things. And they say also it's best for our emotional wealth as humans and happiness to pursue things that we love to do. So it doesn't really make any sense for me to have this history and then go be an accountant.
Mm, hmm, hmm,
That was never going to happen. So of course, before I married, I had those interests already.
hmm.
He just enhanced them. And then after he passed away, I picked those up and carried on.
Mm, hmm. Let me I was going to reflect something. Let me ask this next question. It was the one that I promised to ask, and that is, as you look back at the comma that you were sitting on, what did it create for you?
Silence,
Mm,
darkness, void, um, abyss, depression, deep depression, um, just a sense of loss.
mm,
And that is when I mentioned earlier that I had to sit in that for a while. I had to be with that for a while. It was rough.
mm,
It's, I never want to go back to that.
mm,
But that's what it created for me. And I had to sit in the stillness of that for a while. And that's it. In that time is when I was able to start working with a therapist, and I was able to tell my friends and family, this is what's going on with me. I had to struggle to work through that because, I had to continue to pay my bills. I
hmm,
had to orchestrate a move from Vegas back to LA and, reboot my career and create a life.
hmm,
So it was very, very difficult. But in that, after all of the help that I was able to receive, I was able to figure out, okay, well, I can channel this and repurpose it into something that's going to fuel me, something that's going to work for me, and something that's going to create something where I can move forward and also help other people.
hmm. I hear a degree of optimism and belief mingled in with strength to carry these things. And I know when we're going through things this heavy, like being acknowledged for strength or bravery or courage is probably the last thing we often want to hear. But whether acknowledging it or not, I mean, it seems that the ability to be where you are today is a testament to your ability to pull yourself through that and to ask for the help that you need to also have guides and support along with that process. But what I'm also hearing is that there was it's a question. I'm not being very eloquent right now. It seems that deep within all that there was a sense of hope.
Well, not when I was sitting on the comma
Mm-hmm.
and trying to create from that. There was probably 1% hope.
Mm-hmm.
But, as I was sitting in that, it's like, well, what do you do? And I say this because I know a lot of people, they go through depression, they're diagnosed with depression. But the one thing that I thought, even in the darkest abyss where I was just completely broken, scared, lost, whatever, I realized, well, what are my options?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because I'll be on the sidewalk, broken, scared, lost, and depressed.
Mm-hmm.
I have to be even though I'm going through this, I have to be they have the term functioning alcoholic. I
Mm-hmm.
have to be a functioning depressed person until I can
Mm-hmm.
get out of it. I still have to keep moving. I still have to work. I still have to, have a roof over my head. I still have to do all of these things. So it's
Yeah.
tough, but what are the odds? You have to do something. And I am not one of those people. I don't drink, I don't smoke, and I really don't like to take pharmaceuticals if I can help it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, well, I got to figure it out. I got to do something.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to start seeking either the people that can help me or the friends that will listen to me so I can climb out of it. And especially with the therapist, I have to say, um, there is a stigma sometimes about therapy, although it's getting a little bit better over the years. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of people are like, oh, well, I don't need to see a therapist, or oh, maybe a therapist is too expensive. And at that time, I was on a budget. Everybody's on a budget. Even these days, people are on budgets. I'm on a
For
budget.
sure.
But I was also getting services, massages, facials, because I'm an actor model. I still have to look a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
And I was talking to the massage therapist, who I happened to be able to get massages through a massage school, which cost a lot less.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, wouldn't it be great if I could get therapy from a school? And
Yeah.
so the massage therapist, to his credit, he said, well, you can. And I was like, really? You got to be, this is amazing. So he told me, who to call and, all of that. And so I called. But the point I'm trying to get to is when I called the school that was offering the therapy, they had an intake session. And during the intake session, I said, okay, I want you all to understand that I just need somebody to talk to. I don't want medications. I don't want, prescriptions. I don't want any of that. I just want somebody to talk to because I have things I have to do and I got to be able to go do them.
Mm-hmm.
So that for me was a way for me to start getting off the coma,
Mm-hmm.
so to speak, in that way.
Yeah, I appreciate not only the kind of elaboration in the story, but kind of the correction for me. So as you said, like it was maybe 1% hope, but I'm also hearing kind of necessity and tenacity in there, right? Like as you said, like I got to figure this out. And I think I'm self-referencing right now, but I think sometimes I have a tendency to downplay the benefit of necessity. I'm wanting to be very careful with my words here because I'm kind of reflecting. Um, Sometimes necessity feels like a have to, and forced to, and that sort of thing. It's like sometimes necessity can be, um,
Yes.
it can have its benefits as well. So, okay. Margaux, let me ask you the third question. Obviously, continue to share more of the story as you want and need to. The third question is, as you look back on the comma that you were sitting on, what have you learned about yourself? What are you learning about yourself?
I've learned to be resilient and quiet.
Mm,
Uh, there, as I'm telling my story, and you are understanding, and your listeners are understanding, there is a certain inner strength that one has to go through things like this and everything
hmm
that I have been through personally. At times when I've gone to see people, therapists or people in the health industry or whatever, or they hear my story, and they have said a couple of times, how are you still standing?
hmm
How are you still functioning? Is this all this really happened to you? How are you able to get through this? And I just say, well, I have this resilience uh, with also the training that I have. I have, as I said, a background in sales and marketing.
hmm
And with those things, I've done different aspects of sales. And one of the things that I learned when I was in sales as I said before, you can't have any high highs or low lows. And you have to be able to take rejection, and you have to be able to in a way be strong and pick up and keep going. And there is in lies my mantra. Keep going, keep it moving.
Hmm.
So even though I've been through all these things, I realize that I'm also resilient, but I also take the time to get through the things that I've been through, which is the quiet part. You have to
Mm.
be in that situation. You have to be in the quiet part in order to have some clarity so you can move through it.
Mm. It strikes me as you talk about that, how, this metaphor that really frames this whole podcast and this conversation with the comma is that it is so many things, right? It's a place where we can find ourselves paused against our own will. It's a place where we can take a pause and take the time to observe, process, be still. And it's also a place from which we can emerge and go forward or in another direction. So I'm hearing you talk about kind of all of the dynamics that you experienced around the comma in your life, all in this story together.
Yeah, it's really been, I mean, I wouldn't, it's painful to say with all the things that I've been through, but I wouldn't trade any of those things because that brings me to where I am today and
Hmm.
what I'm doing today. You know,
Mm.
had any of those things not happened, I might be somewhere else doing something else. It's something else in my, timeline.
Mm.
And we have all these alternate timelines we possibly could have gone down. Now,
Right.
maybe I could be in Brazil having cocktails right now, but you just never know. You just never know. So,
Yeah.
with all the things that happened to me, it brought me to the place that I am in today. So, I can't say that I would give up any of those things, even though it was difficult and it was challenging.
And no denying that. And well, then let me ask the fourth question because I feel like you're really taking us there. And I believe you've already shared a little bit about a little bit of your answer to this question. Question four is, what has changed for you as a result of sitting on this comma?
Everything, everything. Um, I'm saying everything because it has literally been everything.
Hmm.
Uh, the one thing about being in the abyss and being, lost, broken, scared, you're at the bottom. There's no lower you can get than that. So after that, as you're coming out from that, it's an ascension. So everything is going up.
Mm.
So with everything that I have been through and everything that I have learned and all the people who have helped me, I'm now in a better place and I can now move forward. I can now ascend, which
Mm.
is what I'm currently doing, which is what I have been doing for the last couple of years. And especially with my film company and my film project, it's been a wonderful, great ascension since 2022, I would say
Mm.
definitely. In 2022, and a little bit before that, I was I had mentioned before, I'm an actor model. And as an actor, especially in Hollywood these days, um, like Heidi Klum says in Project Runway, one day you're in, the next day you're out.
Mm.
So as an actor in Hollywood, you have to figure out how to stay in. And that's
Hmm.
difficult to do unless you're, a little bit higher up as an actor on the food chain. So at my level, I decided, well, okay, I can't just continue at this level and hope for something new to happen. I have to be able to create my own work and be out there. And so in 2022 and a little bit before 2022, I had auditioned for a sitcom and I did actually book it, but the sitcom fell through, it didn't take off. The
Mm.
producer wasn't quite doing all the things he needed to do to do what you're supposed to do to get it to work. And
Hmm.
so while I was auditioning and going through the process and booking that, I met the writer. The writer gave me his information, as you do when you're out, you meet different people, you get their information. And I sat with his card and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna call this writer. I didn't know him at the time. I didn't know how important he was or how big he was or whatever. I just figured I'm gonna call him and see if I can
Mm-hmm.
get a meeting with him. So I called him, I set up a meeting with him, and I met with him. I said, okay, this is the deal. I'm an actress and I want to be seen more. So I want to know if you can write some things for me and then I can be out there more.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, this is going to help you too because your work is going to be out there more.
Mm.
And so he said, well, okay, send me some of the stuff you've done and we'll take a look and I'll see if I can write you some things. And so he started sending me some things that he wrote. He did write some things. And I thought, well, these are great, but where am I going to get a jury and a courtroom and 15 other people and this, that, and the other? Because at that time, then it was COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, write me something that I can do with a tiny amount of people in one location. So he sent me a script. It was called Let Go.
Mm.
And when I read it, I cried.
Mm.
That's my litmus test for when something is going to be amazing. If I start crying, that's what's going to work.
Yeah, okay.
So I read it, I really felt it because the what he wrote was about a mother-daughter relationship, social injustice, and at that time there was a lot of stuff on the news with Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, you
Mm-hmm.
know, how people were being treated uh, with the police and whatnot. So I said, this is it. This is what I want to do. So I went through the process of doing that. And my goal was for it to go to the Cannes Film Festival, and it went to Cannes. It's a short film,
Mm.
and we got a lot of accolades from that, and so on and so forth. So after that, I decided, okay, I'm going to do more producing, and I really like it. I really enjoy it. I really want to do it. So I said, give me something. Let's do a feature film because short films they go far, but not as far. So I said, okay, let's do a feature, and I decided I'll go ahead and open up a company, which I decided True Self Films. It's named True Self Films because true to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided let's open that, and then let's do a flagship film. But also, fast forward after COVID, as an actor, everybody knows this, even if you're not an actor. With SAG, the writers had a strike, the actors had a strike, and it was strike, 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 strike. During that time, a lot of uh, people that we don't normally think about because we only see the actors when we look at
Mm-hmm.
things. We don't think about the crew members, the camera guys, the gaffers, all these things. We don't think about all of them. All of those people were losing work. They were losing their homes. They were losing their cars. They were losing their spouses because they were losing their homes and their cars.
Mm-hmm.
So at that point, I decided this is it. I said, I'm going to personally put my community back to work by myself.
Mm.
And of course, that's a ludicrous thing to say, but there's a lot of power in standing in your commitment and what you say. So I also decided through that to also, okay, so let me back up a little bit. With all the things that I went through, it's also very cathartic, as I said before, to be able to tell my story. And I get through this also in Ascension because I am a storyteller. So I also want to tell stories that are about women and that help other women. And also, about everybody dealing with trauma, addiction, uh, family loss, and things like that, which happens to be the things that we tackle in our flagship film called There in Life's Darkness.
Mm-hmm.
Out of the darkness becomes light. So it's also a redemption story.
Mm.
So with my production company as a whole, I figured, well, okay, first of all, I want to put my community back to work because every time I call one of my friends in the community. Oh, well, let me know if you have any work. They're like, well, I'm not working either, so you let me know when you
Mm-hmm.
find
Mm-hmm.
something. So I want to put my community back to work. I want to spotlight women and women's issues. I want to spotlight addiction issues, family loss. I want to spotlight ageism in film.
Mm-hmm.
As a lot of times in the US, when you look at films, the people are like 23, in the film. Well,
Mm-hmm.
okay, so what is the 50 something woman supposed to be?
Mm-hmm.
So I want to tackle that. I want to tackle the the wage disparity in film, the equal pay for women,
Mm-hmm.
and also, make sure there's correct pay for people who are on the bottom. Yes, you're going to have the A-list actress, she's going to come in, or he's going to come in, and they're going to make their money. But then the people on the bottom are not, they're getting like oranges for lunch. So
Right.
I want to make sure that's the thing as well. So all of these things together that I am working on has helped me to get off that comma and to have an ascension and to rise. And I can tell you that my friends and my family, when I talk to them, and sometimes I talk to them on the daily, I tell them how excited I am. And I know they don't understand because I tell them, oh, I'm working on the computer 12-hour days every day,
Mm-hmm.
to bring my company into fruition and my films into fruition. And they're like, okay, so for 12 hours a day, you're just working on the computer, you're calling people, you're talking to people, and you're excited about this? And I'm like, my eyes are big already, but they're just like, as I'm
Mm.
working and as I'm talking to you even, and I'm talking about, you can feel the excitement, and that's genuine for me.
Yeah.
Those are the things that keep me propelled forward, keep me moving forward. I have a purpose. I have a mission. I have a legacy to build. I have
Mm-hmm.
something to leave for my family. I have something that I'm doing that I can help other people and other women, and something I can put my community back to work. And so, with all of these things together, I have no time to be depressed. I have no time to think about woe is me. I have no time to think about I haven't eaten, even though I do have to stop and eat from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
But these things are propelling me. And it goes back to what I mentioned before. Uh, the things that you do when you're younger or when you're a child is what you should do as you're an adult. And if you don't follow that, what happens are little clues come along through your life that tell you, hey, you should be doing this. And you
Mm.
don't think about it at the time, you just put it in the back of your head. For instance, uh, during the time my husband was around, um, I was going to produce something, and the lady who wrote the piece said to me, "Okay, well, here's a piece I wrote." I said, "Great. Well, I'm going to star in it." Blah, 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 blah. She says, "No, no, 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 no." She says, "No, I don't want you to star in it. I want you to produce it. You would be really good as a producer. You should produce."
Mm.
And that just sat in the back of my head, and I was annoyed at first because I was like, well, but I want to be in it because that's why I'm doing it. And also, when I used to produce my fashion shows, the coordinators that I would have to deal with, they would tell me, you are the calmest coordinator, you're the calmest producer I've ever worked with, and you put all these things together. Because there's usually 100 people at least,
Mm-hmm.
between the models, the makeup artists, the hairstylists, the media, everything. And I would coordinate all of this, and the day would go off without a hitch.
Mm-hmm.
So I realized, okay, producer, 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 producer.
Yeah. Well, may I jump in for a moment?
Sure.
It seems, I mean, first of all, acknowledging just the clear sense of passion as you have gotten into throughout your story, but this last piece, as you started to talk about your company and kind of your mission and your purpose that you teased us at the beginning about, or teased it at the beginning, um, that in a way, kind of what I'm seeing or what comes up for me is that in order to be the most powerful character and play the most powerful role, it had to be of your own story. And so you kind of really are the lead actor, but it's your show. It's literally the whole thing is your show, real in real life and metaphorically.
Yes, a lot of people ask me when I talk about our flagship film, Therein Lies Darkness, uh, which is based on a pop star who is grappling with all of these issues, the addiction, the grief, the family loss, the trauma, and trying to have a redemption. Uh, a lot of people ask me, is this your story
Mm,
based on your life? And many times I say, no, it's not based on my life. But then when I think about it, it's like, yeah, it kind of is.
mm,
It kind of
mm,
is. And it's not only based on my life that I can relate to it, it's based on a lot of people's lives.
mm, mm.
A lot of people can relate to family loss or addiction issues
Yeah,
or redemption stories.
the themes are so bold, right? And they're so close to many of us. The examples may be different, but that theme is there, right? And there was something else too, that I wanted to acknowledge, in this building and creating of your company and your vision, like it speaks to everything that you described, right? The I remember exactly what I was going to say now. I was about to start rambling when family members, when you were saying family members and friends and people close to you kind of don't understand what it means, 12 hours a day and so forth. It's like when you have this sense in you, and you tell me if it's true for you, when you have this sense in you of, I have to keep moving, I have to keep going, right? Sometimes it can feel almost like torture because I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what I'm doing, but I have to keep going, right? And that can be a struggle. But when you start going somewhere and then that thing clicks inside of you that says, ooh, this is what I want to do, or this I can wrap my head around. This gives meaning to my going. Then it's like so many other thought leaders, have said in the past, you're in the zone or you're zen or whatever the case may be. Like so many people, I think, secretly wish they could have that. And when you get it, you get carried away with it, but often with such a sense of fulfillment. I mean, I'm putting words into your mouth. Maybe those are my words for me, but I mean, what would you say to that?
I would say yes. I would say yes, that's all true. Uh, but I would say it's like a light bulb goes on, and
Hmm.
it's like eureka, this is it. Um,
Mm,
I often joke to my friends that currently I'm in my masculine, and this is a thing with women these days: is are you in your feminine? Are you in your masculine? Or
mm,
And I tell my friends right now I'm in my masculine because I don't want to be detoured from what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to focus on this and I want to get it done. And the journey of it, the knowing what to do, that it kind of everything falls into place. First, you have to know
mm,
what it is. And then once you know what it is, then you will figure out what to do. I'm
mm,
not
mm,
just doing this willy-nilly with the blowing with the wind. I'm following a map. I'm
mhm,
following a plan. I'm following a step by step guide, what I need to do to move my company forward, what I need to do to move my film forward, and what I need to do to create my legacy. I'm not just
mhm.
doing it willy nilly.
Right.
So there's a lot of strength and conviction and knowing exactly you have a plan and you are following it. And when people see that strength and they see that conviction, then they feed into it. They want to be a part of it. They want to help. So as I go along, each thing that I accomplish, each thing that I get done, then people are like, "Oh, she's serious. She's going in a direction. Well, let me catch that so
Mhm,
I don't get left out." So there's that. But also for me personally, I'm doing this also with a sense of urgency
mm,
because I've got I only have one parent left. So I have to finish this. while he's still around, so he can see it,
Mm.
and know that I did something, because we always
Mm-hmm.
make our parents proud. But also the people that I mentioned earlier that are out of work, that lost their homes, their cars, their spouses, and all that. I want to help them. I want to help them today, not
Mm-hmm.
next year. I want to help them now. So that's a sense of urgency. The storyline that I want to get out, and I want to help people, that has a sense of urgency because I want people to see it right away.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to be able to create this legacy for the rest of my family, the ones that are coming up. So for me, it's not just, okay, I know what it is, I have a plan, but it's also, I got to do it with a sense of urgency. Everything has to be done today or maybe yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, to speak on that, I spoke to my director and we just completed our proof of concept for our Therein Lies Darkness film. The proof of concept is kind of like a preview,
Mm-hmm.
not of where a trailer you would do after you do the film. So
Okay.
we worked on this proof of concept in October, and this is November. And so I called and I said, okay, well, how are we coming along with the proof of concept? And he said, okay, when do you need it? I said, yesterday. I needed it yesterday. So it's like, and I don't mistake, like I am doing everything with 110% quality.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that I put out is the best it can be, but I still want to do it with a sense of urgency. And I also learned that, as I mentioned before, I have a background in sales and marketing. That's one of the things that we learn. You have to do things with a sense of urgency. You can't just,
Mm-hmm.
da-da-da,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Well, and I sense too, as somebody, you yourself described yourself as creative, and creatives rely on energy and feeling and gut and instinct and intuition. And I would be willing to bet money that you are feeling that sense of urgency and it's coming from your gut and coming from a sense of feeling and intuition and knowing. And so you, as a creative person, are more inclined to honor that and to treat that with the same degree of seriousness that a scientist or a mathematician would treat data with
Yes,
seriousness.
yes. If you're
Mm,
trying to cure cancer, you want to try to cure it right away. You don't want to
mm-hmm,
take, a billion years to cure it. You need to cure it right away. So
mm-hmm.
yes, in a sense, yes, it is like that for me.
Let me ask you the fifth question, and you can kind of expand because I feel like you've really kind of taken us on this journey with your story. Margot, what does getting off the comma look like for you?
Well, as I have said, it's that ascension and it's that happiness, it's that sense of purpose, it's that feeling that things are turning around, that sense of, okay, I'm where I'm supposed to be, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. I'm affecting change in my life and other
Hmm.
people's lives. It's fulfilling when you get, for me personally, when I come out of that broke, scared, lost, abyss, darkness, and I feel a sense of fulfillment, happiness, um, purpose, self-worth, um, that is getting off the comma.
Hmm. And if I may, it also seems like because this has been the thread throughout, and you've said this numerous times, it's also the keep moving forward.
Yes, that's my
Therein is
mantra.
the action. Mm,
Keep
I love
moving.
that. There's so much more I know that you could share with us. Obviously, you have a rich body of experience and knowledge and work, and so much more you could share with your stories. Unfortunately, all podcasts have to come to an end.
Yeah.
Let's 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 close with a couple of things. So, if people wanted to find you, learn more about you, learn more about what you're doing, potentially get involved in some way, I'll put all of the links in the show notes.
Mhm.
Where could people find you?
I'll tell you a funny story quickly before I say where they can
Yeah.
find me. As an actor, I very early on I got invited to some red carpet events, and the red carpet events we call them step and repeat. So
Mm,
you stand, you take the photo, and you go to the next step. You take a photo and carry on. When you get to the end of the carpet, someone asks you questions. And so on this particular evening, I got to the end, the person's asking me the questions, and we finished that. And then she says, okay, well, where can people find you? And in that moment, I didn't have social medias. I didn't have all the social media stuff. And so I said, okay, well, they can find me on www.iactor backslash Margaux Amie backslash iactor.com or some long thing.
mm,
And the woman just looked at me, and then I realized, okay, I'm going to have to do better than that. I'm going to have to get on these social medias because I'm not a millennial. I'm not a Gen Z. And so now I realize I need those. So with that said, they can find me personally on Instagram, IG
mhm.
at Margaux Amie. They can find my company, True Self Films, on Instagram at True Self Films. I am also on Facebook, which I have a lot of updating to do, but I've been crazy busy, so I'll get to that. I'm on Facebook at Margaux Amie. My company is on Facebook at True Self Films also. So they can find me there. True Self Films has a website, so they can go take a look at the website that shows the different projects that I am currently working on.
Mhm.
And there you go.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's great. And again, I'll put the links in the show notes so people can just click on them and jump straight to your profiles. And I love the story too about the evolution because I don't know about you, but based on some of the things you've shared in your story, I suspect we might be of a similar generation and era. I'm almost to the point where I'm ready to go back to there are no social medias, but it's great to have that repository and that body, the references and the ability for people to learn more about you through these links. So speaking of learning more about folks, the last section that I do in every episode, I call acknowledgments. And it's because you being here as part of this whole podcast is about lifting up others, hearing their voices, hearing their stories. And I feel like your story wouldn't be complete if we didn't give you an opportunity to lift up others who matter to you. I call it acknowledgments. And so it's your opportunity to boost, lift up, give a voice to, promote others who matter to you. That could be causes, organizations, it can be other creators, or just people within your sphere of influence who matter to you. Who would you like to acknowledge today? And I'll reference them in the show notes.
Okay. I would like to acknowledge, but I won't name names because, I want to keep them private. But
Hmm.
I do want to acknowledge my family for supporting me through my journey.
Hmm.
I do also want to acknowledge my very, very close and personal friends for being there for me, and they know who they are. I do want to acknowledge I have a group of friends who have been kind of co-worker, also very close friends.
Hmm.
Um, that we still stay in touch. I want to acknowledge them for the support. I do want to push up women. I do want to help women's causes. I want to also say again that my company, my production company, True Self Films, is based in Los Angeles. We are a young indie company, but we are going to be doing episodics, feature films, documentaries, uh, drama films. Our flagship film, Therein Lies Darkness, which we should start shooting the second quarter of June. We are going to be putting that out to the film festival circuit and see how we do there. But we are looking forward to big things. And there are a list of other organizations and projects that I do support, but it's too long to list. So hopefully you can list those in the comment section.
Absolutely. We'll make sure those are included too with links where applicable. Margot, I just want to personally thank you for, coming here, sharing your story with us. And I know this is not an easy story. to share, and I just can't reinforce enough how important it is that whether we know where that story will go or not, this is the thing that connects us as human beings. This is why I feel so strongly about this work. And I'm so grateful to you for showing up, because regardless of your intention, there will be people who will hear this story, and it will make a difference, whether just in how they talk to themselves that day or potentially the direction they take in their life. And particularly, I feel very strongly and confident that there are going to be many women out there, which is your intention, who
Mhm.
are going to be grateful that you showed up to tell this story today. So thank you for that.
Thank you for having me.
I wish you the best of weekends ahead, and I will look forward to following your journey as well.
Thank you. And you never know, maybe you can have me back on the show sometime and we can talk some more about the progress we're making.
Absolutely. Awesome. All right. Well, enjoy your weekend.
Thank you. You too.
What an honor it is for me to hear and share these powerful stories. I hope you feel the same way. Think about what you learned from this conversation. I encourage you to write it down in some form of journaling or reflection, because surprises can reveal themselves to you when you write your thoughts down. If you were moved by today's conversation, pass it along to someone you care about. And if you do discover something you'd like to unpack further, book a call with me and let's talk about it. My links are in the show notes. Be sure to like this episode and follow the podcast here on this platform and all social media at Off the Comma. Feel free to interact and comment. Thank you for listening to this episode of Off the Comma. As always, keep noticing and keep listening.